Grab your popcorn, ladies and gentlemen. We have some very big news today. NASCAR is being sued. This is huge. Michael Jordan is suing NASCAR.
I'm like, what is it me for?
I said that when Michael Jordan came into the sport that he would, this is not a money venture for him. This is his passion. It's been his passion. Even when he was playing in the NBA, he has always been one of the biggest NASCAR fans there is. And now his team, along with Front Row Motorsports, along with Denny Hamlin by his side, they are suing NASCAR, which is a massive deal. This is a very big deal, guys. If you think it's just like another, a court case, no, this is a very big deal, and we're going to talk about it. The AP have released an article. We're going to go through that article, and there have been comments and stuff coming out of this. And so here is the article. It is right here, and it is Michael Jordan's 23XI, and that's going to be the main headline. Even I'm using it in the title of the video. It is, Jordan, and he actually put out a statement as well, and we're going to see that in a second. But the two NASCAR teams, including so it's not just 23XI, it's Front Row Motorsports as well. They are going after NASCAR, and they are filing a federal antitrust lawsuit against the Stock Car Series and chairman Jim France on Wednesday, claiming the new charter system limits competition by unfairly binding the teams to the series, its tracks, and its suppliers. I feel like this is going to be a pretty long video because we have a lot to talk about. So, guys, sit back, relax, and comment down below as well with what your opinions are. And I would highly suggest you actually, go on social media, read articles like from Jenna Fryer here from the AP, but also multiple other websites as well, and get all the quotes and everything. I'm going to try to go through as much as possible here because there's a lot to talk about and why I think this could be a very, very big deal for, the sport as a whole. And it also kind of answers my questions as to why I've been wondering, why is there such little communication between NASCAR, race teams, drivers? And it's because there seems to be that there's been a lot of animosity and a lot of bad blood between the guys. And, now it is literally being taken to the courts where the, two of the race teams are so fed up that they are actually suing NASCAR themselves. And that's where we have this unhealthy relationship between NASCAR and it's the team owners, where we really need to be working together. Fans, drivers, team owners, and NASCAR should all be working together to make the sport better. Well, now we have two of those parties going to court. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a little while until that happens. They have filed a suit in the Western District of North Carolina in Charlotte after 2 years of contentious negotiations between the privately owned NASCAR and the 15 charter holding organizations in the top series. And then this very aggressive quote: "The France family and NASCAR are monopolistic bullies," the team said in the lawsuit, 23XI and Front Row. "Bullies will continue to impose their will to hurt others until their targets stand up and refuse to be victims. That moment has now arrived." That is a very aggressive statement by the teams, and it just shows the kind of the bad blood that's going on. In early September, there was NASCAR presented their final offer for the revenue sharing model. 13 organizations signed, with most saying they did so under duress or felt threatened to do so. But Denny Hamlin as well came out earlier, a few weeks ago, said he was going to fight it. And now this is official. The team co-owned by Jordan and veteran driver Denny Hamlin and the smaller Front Row team refused to sign. And this is the biggest deal out of all this, guys. And I'll explain it in a second. Jeffrey Kessler, a top antitrust attorney, that is the biggest deal out of all of this. Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, and Front Row Motorsports have come, and they have come with massive intentions and a lot of firepower. This is the top antitrust attorney right now in the States. He was the one who represented the players in all 4 major professional North American sports that helped push the NCAA toward an era of paid college athletes, and won a landmark equal pay settlement for members of the U.S. national women's soccer team. 2 of the most highly profiled sports cases over the last decade, basically, where he has won. And, now we've seen the landscape of college athletics completely changed, as well as the U.S. national women's women's soccer team getting paid more fairly according to what they bring. The reason why that's such a big deal is because this is just, guys, for another sport that's going on. I'm an Arsenal fan. Manchester City are currently in court against the Premier League in what is arguably the biggest court case in sports ever. We're talking about the amount of lawyers, the amount of attorneys, the amount of money that's being spent between Manchester City and the Premier League. It is a massive deal when you have someone like Jeffrey Kessler here that is able to represent you, and he has an amazing track history. What I'm trying to say is, when you get into these lawsuits, it can be kind of easy to see, like, are you going to take it seriously? Getting him is taking it seriously. This is a very big deal. And as the Manchester City and the Premier League court case goes on over the plethora of charges going on over there, that's going to take a long time. This will also take a pretty long time. You probably won't see a settlement here or an agreement until likely 2026 probably. So they'll talk about that as well. So before we actually seek everything else, real quick, just a quick summary. The charter system, if you don't know what it is, it was introduced in 2016, which included the revenue sharing and other elements of the business for the top motorsport series, while guaranteeing 30. So you were basically guaranteed to race in the Cup Series. No more like you have to be in a certain points position, you have to qualify your way in and all that stuff. There were 19 team owners at the time that were granted charters, and only 8 remain in the sport that were from the charters back in 2016, which is kind of crazy. Obviously, this doesn't include 23XI with Jordan. This doesn't include Trackhouse Racing, right? They're new to the sport. But what they're saying is there were 19 team owners back in 2016. Now there are only 8 that remain. One of the departing teams was Furniture Row Motorsports, who sold his charter for $6 million at the end of the 2018 season, a year removed from winning the Cup Series championship with Martin Truex Jr. And that is proof that the plaintiffs say that the charters left the teams without a path of profitability. If you don't know what a plaintiff is, the plaintiffs are, 23XI and Front Row Motorsports, while the defendants are NASCAR. The original charters lasted from 2016 through 2020. They were automatically renewed in 2024, or they were going to renew through December 31st, 2024. The teams argued the revenue sharing was unfair and demanded a larger share of the pot. Front Row owner Bob Jenkins has maintained he's never turned a profit since forming his team in 2005. He won the Daytona 500 in 2021 with driver Mike McDowell, which is the highest paying race in NASCAR, and still failed to break even in that 2021 season. Just to say, 2021 is still coming back off of COVID, so still a kind of rough time for the economy. But this is NASCAR. Team owners don't make money. And then this is what the teams want. This is what they wanted in the agreement. So during negotiations, the team asked for more revenue, a voice in governance and rulemaking. So this would be like, changes to the cars or the packages and stuff like that, and a cut from deals that NASCAR earns off the names, images, and likeness of the participants. So everything you see on like NASCAR.com and the Superstore and everything, NASCAR earns a lot of money from that. And I actually just want to make a quick comparison here. I don't know if the teams, I don't think they do. I think the drivers do, but I don't think the teams actually get anything. But this is actually very similar to what WWE has. You know how in WWE, if you are a WWE superstar, when the WWE sells your merchandise, you obviously get a cut from that. I'm sure the drivers get a cut from their merchandise. It's very weird. You're on weird territory when it's, do the team owners deserve a cut as well? That one is very unique, because in WWE to the superstars and NASCAR to the drivers, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure that drivers get a cut off that. I'm pretty sure they do, but yeah, it's just very weird to see that and how that's going to play out. The teams also wanted charters to be permanent, and Jim France has so far refused on that. According to the suit, NASCAR presented a take it or leave it offer on Friday, September 6th, 48 hours before the playoffs began. It says NASCAR threatened teams to sign the more than 100-page agreement, I think it was 112, or risk losing not only their charters but the charter system itself, and a substantial number of teams agreed. The teams knew that fielding a NASCAR car had become so expensive that it would be economically devastating for most of them to compete without the modest revenue sharing and stability provided by the charter system, and a complete loss of their charter values if the charter system was discontinued, the lawsuit claims. So because NASCAR, they introduced the charter system, that taking it away, and it would, with the revenue sharing, it would basically, that would be that for all the race teams. The biggest owner, obviously, in NASCAR, Rick Hendrick, the most successful owner, the owner that, in reality makes the most money but still doesn't break even. The winningest owner in NASCAR history has said that he signed only because he was worn down by the negotiations. Hey, Rick Hendrick is old. He doesn't want to deal with it. 23XI and Front Row held out, but their motivation remained unclear until today when they filed the lawsuit. So going back up to the top, which is the the lawsuit details. So what the lawsuit seeks is details from NASCAR and Jim France related to the exclusionary practices and intent to insulate themselves from any competition. Kessler said that he would ask for a preliminary injunction that will enable the two teams to compete in 2025 under the new charter agreement while the litigation proceeds. So you don't have to worry about 23XI or Front Row not being able to participate in the 2025 Daytona 500 or in the 2025 season. They're going to ask for that injunction while this is going on in the court system, so that way they can continue as if they are under the new charter agreement while this is being settled. The team said they will seek treble damages for anti-competitive terms that have ruled the sport since the initial 2016 charter agreement. And the reason why they have Kessler is because what they are suing NASCAR for is exactly what Kessler was brought on to sue the NCAA for. It is that antitrust, the anti-competition, the monopoly that the NCAA had on collegiate athletics, that they are saying, the two teams involved in this with Kessler are saying that it is basically the exact same situation, that NASCAR has a monopoly, NASCAR has an anti-competitive, environment where they are basically making up the rules and forcing teams to play under their rules, and it actually goes against antitrust laws that are set in the United States. So, it's very important because this is not Europe. We're under the same laws that the NCAA were under, and the NCAA lost. They lost that case, and they were losing that case for multiple years until they finally came to a settlement. And so Kessler is going to use the laws have not changed. He's going to use the same legal argument, the same legal practices that NASCAR, the privately owned company, is making the same mistake that the NCAA was, while NASCAR will have to defend themselves and say that it is different. And so what does the lawsuit claim? The suit argues NASCAR violated the Sherman Antitrust Act by preventing any stock car racing team from competing on the circuit without accepting the anti-competitive terms it imposes. What I think that means is that because the charter system guarantees you a spot, right? That if you are a new owner, you cannot compete without getting a charter. And so that antitrust, you have to pay to play, basically. You have to join the club in order to race in this series, that is the anti-competitive terms. Faced with the take it or leave it offer and no competing opportunity for premier stock car racing in the United States, because apparently there is, again, the whole point of this is that there is no other series. There's no other stock car series, so NASCAR should not be allowed to do this. Most of the teams concluded that they had to sign. The lawsuit states one team describes its signing as coerced, and another said it was under duress. Because if they didn't sign, then where would they go? There is nobody else other than NASCAR. And again, I do want to make another comparison to WWE. I feel like the WWE is very fascinating in this because throughout its entire history, the WWE has always had a competitor, whether it be WCW, whether it be TNA, whether it be now AEW. The WWE has never actually owned professional wrestling. There's always been other series. Where NASCAR comes into play, there has not been another stock car series. Is that stopping anyone from starting a stock car series? I guess that might be one of NASCAR's arguments, is okay, well, there might not be anyone right now in the market, but you could go and make your own series. Maybe they'll try in the court system to say that the race teams could actually create their own series if they wanted to, and that NASCAR is not holding them hostage. But then the race teams are going to come back and say that NASCAR owns the majority of the racetracks, so where are they going to race if NASCAR owns the majority of the racetracks? And it's all legal he say, she say, and hearsay, and that is why this is actually very fascinating. And then the article goes on to talk about how did it get here. NASCAR was founded in 1948 by the late Bill France Sr. It has obviously run through the family. And the lawsuit maintains that NASCAR, until 2016, operated under year-to-year contracts that provided no long-term viability to any team. There was no guaranteed entry into any Cup Series event or prize money. Obviously, qualify, win your in, you have to be in a certain points position. And teams depended on individual sponsorships that they had to find themselves. That's how NASCAR has always been. That model made sustainability next to impossible for any owner who tried to operate exclusively as a racing team without additional outside businesses. And this especially came to light once the NASCAR boom fell off. So after the mid 2000s and the boom started to fall off, that's when the race teams started to struggle a lot more and more, and that's why the charter system was created in 2016. Chasing sponsorship became a full-time job, and teams often found themselves competing with NASCAR outright for financial deals, because NASCAR would also, the Sprint Cup Series, the Monster Energy Cup Series, Coca-Cola, Geico, all these sponsorships that, go with NASCAR, they then directly are not going with the race teams. So that's why it became very complicated. The NASCAR business model is genuinely crazy when you actually deep it. Like, it really, that's why I try to say, like, let's compare it to WWE, let's compare it to NCAA. But in reality, it is so hard to compare NASCAR to anything else because the business model is just so different from anything else. It's very weird where you have the organization that is NASCAR and the race teams that put the show on, and yet they're fighting each other for sponsorships. When does that happen? Like, that does not happen. It's very crazy when you think about it. The teams felt that they were operating in a constant state of financial vulnerability that put some of the most successful organizations out of business, the lawsuit states. It quotes NASCAR Hall of Famer Jimmy Johnson, who has mostly retired as a driver and is now the co-owner of a fledgling Cup Series team. In the words of NASCAR Hall of Famer, the lawsuit says the best thing is to be NASCAR, the second best is to be a driver, and the last thing is to be a team owner. And that is what the article says from Jenna Fryer in the AP. And then there is another article by Kelly Crandall of racer.com, which has a lot of the quotes from the man himself that's very important in this battle. It is Jeffrey Kessler. So I'm going to move myself over to the other side real quick. Okay, so this article has a lot of the quotes from Jeffrey Kessler, one of the top antitrust and sports lawyers in the country, and the main man behind the U.S. Women's National Team's court case, and the biggest one, which is the NCAA court case, where he was representing the collegiate athletes. So this is what Jeffrey Kessler has to say, and this is, I think, the most fascinating thing of this all, because he's going to be the one that directly will, fighting this on behalf of 23XI and Front Row, and in a way, not just 23XI and Front Row, but also all the race teams as well. So this is reminiscent for me of many sports that have gone through a transformative model, said Kessler, who was hired by the race teams at the beginning of the year. And this is very important, actually, that he was hired with the race team alliance, the RTA, which is basically the race teams, kind of little agreement where they can, negotiate on behalf of all the race teams. So all the race team owners, he was hired at the beginning of the year. So this is, once he got hired at the beginning of the year, people much more in depth than me with knowledge of this said that was very eye-opening. Like, a lot of people within the industry were like, whoa. The race teams have Kessler, which means, if they wanted to go down a certain model, this guy obviously could do it because of what he did with the NCAA. I did not know about this because I'm not trying to look up legal articles. I didn't know about this because I was simply just not looking it up. Like, I knew that we all knew that NASCAR and the race teams were negotiating, but I was not going to go actively, I didn't know that they hired him at the beginning of the year. Now it makes a lot more sense because he's going to be the one representing them now that they are going to court. So he said it's sort of a moment when the legal style basically confronts them and says either you're going to voluntarily change, which is what happened at the NCAA, or you're going to be changed and you can either get on the bus or get run over by the bus. No one wanted this litigation, but NASCAR didn't really give these teams any choice. You either submit to the bully or you fight. They're going to fight. We think at the end of the day, NASCAR is going to have to change because that's what the legal system is going to require. There will be no settling for crumbs, Kessler said. It's also not about changing the deal by only a slight amount. If NASCAR is willing to change, it's got to be a significant change to make a fair system for the teams. If they're not willing to make that kind of deal, then they'll take this case all the way to a jury and a judge. And that's why I say they'll be forced to change. It's the same type of thing I went through with the NCAA, who had a choice to make. They could keep fighting in court and keep losing and have the new system thrust upon them, or in that case, they finally sat down and said, we're ready to transform the sport and we'll be a part of it. If you guys know about that NCAA case, it went on for years and years, and the NCAA kept losing and losing in court until they decided to settle. So we might know what's happening pretty quickly with this battle if the media decides to report on it, and whether NASCAR is going to want to fight. And Kessler seems very positive on this and very confident that he is saying that is exactly what NASCAR is going to face. They're going to have to face the same exact issue. And the reason why he might be right is because it's the same exact legal issue. It's the same issue. It's the same antitrust lawsuit. It's the same act, the Sherman Antitrust, the Sherman Antitrust Act. It's the same one that the NCAA was fighting against, and it hasn't changed. So if he's able to prove that the NCAA case and the NASCAR case in comparison are quite similar, and that NASCAR are violating if they are violating the specific law, that's all this is about. When it comes to legal, court cases and crap, it's literally all about that. Then NASCAR's in trouble. NASCAR's in a lot of trouble because they said that law ain't changing, So it's like, well, this is a big deal. So NASCAR's gonna have to figure out how to defend themselves by saying they're not violating that law. It's going to be all about that, specific act and how that's going to go. It's going to be kind of crazy when you think about it. There have been 2 years of negotiations, which at times turned tense and standoffish between NASCAR and the teams over the 2025 charter agreement. The teams came up with 4 key issues for their negotiations. In addition to making the charters permanent, the teams want a larger share of the revenue, a cut on the business deals that use drivers of team likenesses, and involvement in governance issues. Jenkins said all the team owners initially locked arms on moving forward together to accomplish a new charter agreement. NASCAR set out on this journey to basically divide and conquer, and they were largely successful. This is Bob Jenkins, by the way, who Front Row Motorsports. I hate to say it, but that they were largely successful. Dusted off the 50-year-old playbook and said, I'll be dang, this thing still works. We can still intimidate the teams into signing a deal. September 6th, that's exactly what happened. According to Jenkins, as outlined in the lawsuit, the teams received an email at 5 p.m. That gave them 1 hour, only 1 hour to 1 hour to review a 112-page document and sign, or their charters would be pulled. That's crazy. If that is true, if that is only 1 hour to review a 112-page document. Listen, man, I know me. I've done some reading in my lifetime. I'm not the biggest reader of books, but there is no way I can read 112 pages of anything in 1 hour. I'm sorry, I cannot do that. So, again, this is according to them. We'll see if that is what happened. That is crazy. That's genuinely crazy if that is the case. After pushbacks from the teams, the deadline was extended. Oh, no, it was extended till midnight. There you go. They had 7 more hours. You have 7 hours to read a 112-page document, or else you're screwed. That is nuts. Wow. That's very, if that is true, guys, that's very, that is a tactic, to say the least, in business terms. In my opinion, so many of the owners had long-term agreements with sponsors and OEMs, crew chiefs and drivers. They felt compelled to have signed it because they couldn't put the tens of millions of dollars at risk that would cost them if they didn't sign it, Jenkins said. So I think if you talk to those owners individually, that's going to be the story you hear from almost all of them. But I just felt like it was time to stand up for this. And I know that Curtis, Michael, and Denny all feel the same way. And we said, you know what? We're going to fight this fight. We're going to do what's right, and we want to fix the sport and get it healthy. Jenkins said that 23XI and Front Row Motorsports jointly filed the lawsuit because they are aligned in their goals and passions for NASCAR and are committed to and determined to carry the effort through. And then Denny Hamlin also talked about it, where he said, I didn't realize until reinvesting the money that he made as a driver. And remember, Denny Hamlin made a lot of his money in the heyday of NASCAR when he came in 2006. He was making way more money between 2006 and 2012 than 2013 through 2024. He was the money that the drivers were making, when the sport was really booming, was definitely a very large amount. Hamlin said, "I didn't realize they would exercise the power that they did in an unfair manner. In my opinion, we just got to a tipping point where we all said enough is enough and let's exercise some options." Polk, who is also the co-owner of 23XI Racing, acknowledged the hope was bargaining a fair deal with NASCAR and not being forced into signing something they weren't comfortable with. When that time came, the advice of Kessler was sought as to what rights and steps the teams could take, which resulted in the lawsuit. NASCAR and Speedway Motorsports control the racetracks on the schedule, which doesn't leave room for a competing series. This is why, what they're arguing is that, yeah, we could go create our own series, but you own all the racetracks, so then how are we going to race? NASCAR also owns the next gen car and the parts that must be purchased from the suppliers that NASCAR selects at the prices that NASCAR negotiates. The teams cannot take the car and race anywhere else. Like I said, guys, the business of NASCAR is wild. It's literally it's like nothing else. It's genuinely crazy. When we knew we had no leverage in this whole process, Polk said, we'd meet with NASCAR about the things we thought would be better for the sport, and not just for the teams, but for the drivers, the fans, and for NASCAR and the fans' family to try and grow the sport. We built this team for the sole purpose of running at the NASCAR Cup level. There's nothing else I can do with these assets. I'm in a situation where I basically invested tens and tens of millions of dollars in a system where one person basically has the right to tell me I'm not going to get anything more, and I can take it or leave it on September 6th. And I knew that didn't sound right, and that's why I went to Jeffrey, and that's why we are where we are today. Wow. And Bob Pockris came in as well, saying what was in the article. Lawsuit claims teams' revenue is less than what they could get in a competitive market because NASCAR owns the majority of the tracks and prohibits similar stock car races at any cup track. So they're saying that if the teams went to there's no competitive market because they can't race at Daytona because Daytona is owned by NASCAR. They can't race it at Dover because Dover is owned by NASCAR. They can't race at Sonoma because Sonoma is owned by. That's what they're saying, is that they simply can't go to these racetracks. So where the hell are they going to go? NASCAR requires teams to buy parts and pieces from specific vendors and wants control of the team IP rights. Crazy, guys. Genuinely crazy. What do you think in the comments down below? This is a big deal, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to be wild. Buckle up. It's probably going to get a little bit ugly, and we will see how this goes. This landscape of NASCAR will change, whether it be for the race teams or whether it be for NASCAR. The fact that this lawsuit is carrying through, it's going to be different. Now, we will have to, it will take probably a few years. Obviously, 23XI and Front Row will race in 2025 if that, preliminary injunction is granted, which it very well should. And then it's just going to be very tense, and it's going to be weird because you're going to see like Denny Hamlin on the racetrack and Michael Jordan at the racetrack and Front Row Motorsports at the racetrack while they are literally suing the organization that they are racing in. It is crazy. It really is crazy. A lot of comparisons to the NCAA case, and we will see how this goes. Comment down below what you think. Take care of yourselves. I will see you guys tomorrow. At the very end, I want to give a shout out to the Patreon members. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. You guys are the absolute best, and let me know what you guys think about all this. Buckle up. It's going to get very, very crazy. Hit the like button if you're new. Subscribe if you are new as well. And we will see where this goes. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.